Morning, welcome back. It's been a few days. It's been a busy week around here. Had a lot to do, unfortunately. I didn't have time to work on this motor and get it torn apart. One of the things I didn't think about doing while I had it in the bike was draining the oil. I didn't really suspect it to have oil in it. I'm not sure why I thought that. It was a bad thought on my part. So today I did prop the engine up on the stand here and I drained the oil. Unfortunately, what I found was sludge. As you've probably seen on the Instagram reel or on the YouTube short, I'm not even sure what to call it, corn syrup that was pouring out of it was pretty disgusting. I imagine it's a mix of heavy grade oil and water. It came out like syrup, honestly. It came out really slow and took a while to drain and was really thick and smelled absolutely awful. Not quite as bad as gear lube, but not good either. Anyway, we'll get after it today, try to get this thing tore apart. I suspect that the reason why this thing does not work or wouldn't turn over is because it had water in it. So we'll get everything torn off today and you can follow along and we'll see the carnage together. Hopefully, there's some good usable parts in here still. I'm not sure if there will be or won't be. I suspect a lot of rust inside. Yeah, it looks pretty gross in there. I've put a couple mats down just in case it does have more oil inside to drain off. I'm not sure what's going to come out of it or what kind of a mess I'm going to make. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see in the camera or not, but there's oil sitting in there with water. Not a good sign. Trying to figure out the best way to go about getting this apart here. Since I have not taken one apart before, I'm not exactly sure what the right methods are to use and how exactly to get to these head studs. I think we're going to try to pull the rockers first and see what that does, what results I get there. Now with the rocker arms out, I should be able to pull the head studs here. So we're going to work on getting those backed out. See if we can get this head to come off. Something I just noticed, this does have an actual Harley Davidson spark plug in it still. And I wonder if it's the factory plug. This bike only had 236 miles on it from what the speedometer was showing. Not sure how accurate that was or wasn't since it didn't work. That one broke right off. Front oil feed line here that needs to come off as well before I start pulling on everything. Connects here and it connects to the engine itself. To the bottom end, I should say. cylinder is of course very rusty. I can see in here between the head and the base here, and it's pretty gross. Trying to gently guide this off. I don't want to break any fins on the head itself. I feel like the head's rebuildable. I feel like it's a good part that someone can put back into service with some time. And obviously it'll need to be cleaned and everything will have to be taken off of it. There's a lot of rust in there. A lot of rust in there. And that's honestly what's hanging the whole entire head up, is the head studs are rusty. They're really rusty. And they've created quite the bond between everything here. Some of them are moving, the bottom ones are moving real well, but the top ones are not. It's really this one right here. This one is really stuck. That did it. Still gonna be a little bit of a fight, but it made some headway. I'm near the end. I just don't want this to come flying off and then of course hit the ground. It's gonna fight right to the bitter end. That was rubber gasket in there. But as you can see by looking at the head, this thing is full of rust. Turn the engine around, and what I was seeing was actually the sleeve. I wasn't seeing the actual piston. I thought that I was. But we'll turn this around and we'll show you inside the engine here. Give you a good look at it. Hopefully you can see in there. Not sure if the camera's picking that up, but there's a ton of rust in there. Tons of rust. I'm not even sure what that is. Oily grime, probably. Probably the mixture between oil and water, and sitting for however many years this thing sat. It seems like its entire life it's sat. But that's what we're facing today. That's what's going on in there. That's the real problem. I mean, this thing was never going to turn over. I mean, it's completely locked up because there's so much gunk inside the cylinder bore. I mean, this is what's in there. I mean, it's just disgusting. There's dirt and debris and oil and just grossness. Unfortunately, this poor thing's in rough shape. See if we can get this head to move at all. Not sure how to go about doing that, unfortunately. Tons of acorns, squirrel nuts, whatever. Small little, I'm not sure what those little nuts are. Pretty gross in there. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some penetrating lube inside the cylinder here, scrape some more of this gunk out of there, and see if I can get that to soak between the piston itself and the rings and whatnot, maybe be able to free this thing up. Because I don't know that I'm going to be able to remove this head without having that free. I'm not sure if the head's savable. It might be. I mean, somebody probably could re-sleeve it. I'm not sure if people do that on these. I know with the big twin bikes or even the Sportsters, people do go through and re-sleeve them. And maybe someone along the lines is restoring these things. I'm not sure. We'll give that a good soak for a while and we'll work on getting this other side removed. Get this cover off. Get the gear selector off. Have to get to the gear selector, get some of this grime out of the way. So much engine oil and grease and gunk on this thing that you couldn't get to it if you had to right now. I guess the nice part was it was well lubed. That's covered in so much disgustingness that it actually turned nicely, surprisingly. Try to guide this thing off, trying not to do any damage to any of it. All right, it is free. Slowly working my way around this cover, trying to get it off. It's got quite the lip on it. Something I've never taken apart, so this is kind of a new one to me. Oh yeah, the clutch basket is totally toasted in there. That is rusty as rusty gets, unfortunately. That's pretty sad. So see if we can get it out at all. There still is adjustment in the clutch, which is amazing. It's amazing that that actually turns. Well, I ended up stripping a couple of these studs in here. Went to the hardware store, bought an easy out kit, tried that, broke the dang thing off. Those things are always trash. They never seem to work. So at this point, I'm gonna have to figure out how to get these studs out. There's a couple of them in here. I've got 4 actually. These hex head screws. Not sure how to get them out at this point. I might have to get a chisel and try to chisel them out in a circle. Take a little bit of time there. I did go through and soak the bolts before I left. That way I could, try to, get some of these other pieces loosened up. The head has moved a little bit. I was able to wiggle it a little more. So I think at this point I'm going to try to finish getting the head off. And that may be as far as I'm going to make it for today, unfortunately. I don't have a good method as to how to get these things out of here. Now with this one I've got a hardened, well, it's not too hard, well, kind of. Easy out, stuck in there. I don't think that was built very well because it's breaking right off. Well, I guess the important part is stuck inside, so now one more challenge added to the mix here of trying to get this thing to separate and come apart. That's how it is with things that have sat sometimes. They get stuck, they get rusty, they get locked in place, and there's no good way to get them apart. And unfortunately, I don't have all the tools to be able to get these things to work the way that I think that they should. Obviously, if somebody has a good suggestion on how to get this thing to, how to get these hex screws out, I'd be grateful for it. Anyway, I'm gonna have a sip of Red Bull here, try to get my thoughts straightened out, and try to get this head pulled off. I believe if I wiggle this back and forth a little bit, I should be able to help it along to come off. Don't want to break any of the fins if I can help it. It is moving, little bits at a time. I did douse this thing with, this piston with PB Blast. A lot of rust in there, a lot of grime, a lot of disgustingness. And now a river of PB Blast inside there. But like I said, this is slowly but surely kind of moving. I'm thinking if I toy with it for a while, I should be able to get it to separate. Trying to preserve as much of this as I can. Obviously I'd like to keep this motor as intact as possible. I do feel a lot of the parts are worth something. Plus it's easier to ship out if it's all in pieces. It's hard to ship an entire motor. And with something like this, a lot of times people don't want to pay for shipping on a heavy motor, which I don't blame them. Got a little nervous there. I thought I broke something. I didn't. I slipped. Thankfully. It is moving. I don't want to wreck the gasket surfaces on the cases either. Or actually rotating the motor. Ha! The whole piston's actually coming out with this. That's how stuck that piston is in this head. It's actually seized right in there. We're actually turning the motor right now. It's crazy to think that this thing's actually going to turn over this way. This piston is absolutely stuck in here. This may require some heat. I have to torch this head. Let's see if I can get this piston to come out. But now that I've gotten it this far, what I'm going to do is clean this stuff out of here. Squirrel bits and whatever that is. I'm going to spray this backside with PB Blast too to see if maybe that'll help it. I know it's not really getting down inside of it, I know that. It's kind of getting next to it. The hope is there'll be some cavities in there where the actual PB Blast will get down into, next to the cylinder, next to the rings, all that good stuff. Not sure if I can push that piston in at all, if it'll move. It may. That's pretty solid. I don't think I'm making any headway at all. I think I'm actually just moving the entire head back into place, which I don't want to do. Yep, I think I might have to heat that. I think what I'm going to have to do is bring the torch here one of these days and heat the cylinder and hopefully heat it enough to get it to separate from those piston rings. Those piston rings are absolutely locked right in place. They don't move one bit right now. So unfortunately that's a stopping point for me there. We'll remove a couple more parts. I'll try to loosen up some of these case bolts. I have noticed there's a couple of them that are actually busted off flush with the case. So I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen there. My hope is, again, I'll be able to heat those things and I'll be able to move past the points of where they're broken. If not, I'm not sure if I'll be able to separate these cases. You know, unlimited tools and supplies here. I don't think I have the right resources to be able to, you know, drill these things out. And, you know, the luck that I've had with easy outs and things like that, I feel it would be a failure or a failed attempt to be able to get those apart by drilling them. So at this point, I'm going to move forward on the nuts on the one side that I think I can get undone. So we'll lay this right on the side here and we'll attempt to get those done, and that may be as far as we make it today. Unfortunately, I had hoped to, you know, tear this whole motor apart in one session, but looks like it might be two or more. I'm not exactly sure. But we'll get this thing on its side here and let's see if we can loosen up some of these other nuts. Get these cases ready to separate. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or a bad idea. I'm probably jumping the gun here by doing this. See, that's got a hex head screw in it, and the rest are small nuts on this side. Not sure if that's supposed to be that way or if that's something someone did along the way or what the deal is there. Thankfully, that was ready to loosen.
This was already loose on the inside. This cover had been removed at one point. Like I said, the kickstart shaft was broken off, and I think that had something to do with this cover coming off. Plenty of new learning experiences for me on this engine. Spinning on the back side. That one is too. So far, none of these are broken, which I'm grateful for. But they're not out yet either, so there's plenty of time for them to bust off midway through. That false sense of security, thinking that you can actually turn this by hand when in fact you need the leverage. You know, with all the rust in play here, it's really difficult to move some of these. They just have been that way for so long that they're reluctant to, you know, come out of their homes. This front one, they definitely don't give enough working room. Not enough room to get a box 10 wrench on there. Not enough room to get a socket down in there really either, I don't think. Not comfortably, at least. I'll leave that one on there for today. Try to get this oil line off here. Well, I'm sorry to say that we're going to leave this in a bad point today. You know, I really had hoped to get further along, but with the head stuck, and of course that side case, side cover stuck on there, I'm at a stopping point. So what I'm going to do is do some more research, obviously get my torch here so I can heat this head up in the hopes of being able to, you know, free the piston rings, because these things are just solid. It's just stuck. I could probably hammer on it a little bit. I'm a little reluctant to do that. You know, I'm really afraid of damaging something. I know sometimes you gotta not think about those things and actually just go for it. But I'm trying to keep this as intact as possible and trying not to break a bunch of things. And I know there's things that are gonna break along the way, and I know that's part of the deal with a bike that's this old and that has sat this long. You're gonna run into these issues. You know, it's gonna be one of those repetitive things that you're gonna see. And I know guys have done this, you know, forever and have run into the same issues that I'm running into. But for me, it's a lack of tools, obviously lack of resources, you know, a lack of knowledge for the most part too, because I don't know all there is about, you know, this type of motor and everything. I mean, there's a lot that I do know, but a lot that I don't too. Anyway, I appreciate you guys following along. Appreciate you guys sticking through this, process here and waiting for the videos. The comments have been awesome. I really appreciate the support. For my followers, both new and old, thank you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please, feel free to subscribe. That way you can, see these types of videos. I do plan on making videos as often as possible on all the projects that I have, or bikes that come in the shop, or the wheel and tire machine I'm trying to get going, or all the different things I have going on. And if you like the video, give it a like. If you'd like to, share with your friends. If you've got a buddy or a friend or whatnot that likes this type of stuff, feel free to share these things. Anyway, as always, thank you guys for watching. Take care. We'll see you next time.